Among China's 8 main cuisines, it's Sichuan fare that's most popular, widely served and evocative of local culture.
为啥子啊？因为它是很多菜品，可以说91%的菜品源自于民间，是家常菜。
适合于东西南的这种。
但是他们吃的最有名堂，吃的最精彩。
Exotic flavors, conjured from ceaseless, spicy experimentations, constitute the very soul of Sichuan cuisine and its universal appeal.
说鱼香肉丝里面没有鱼，
没有鱼，但是吃出鱼的味道来。
我就说有鱼，
它是无中生有，就是味道调到哲学境界。
到最后到嘴巴里面就是一个字，哇，好吃。
This series presents Sichuan cuisine's 6 most representative and influential dishes. Seemingly ordinary, each one has an intriguing backstory. The lush forests and fresh, humid air here on the Bagong Mountain in Anhui Province's Shouxian County is the perfect setting for human self-cultivation. This group of sculptures on the Bagong Mountain depicts 8 gentlemen led by Liu An, Prince of Huainan of the Han Dynasty, who met here 2,100 years ago to pursue immortality. They, in the course of concocting an elixir with spring water, soybeans, and calcium sulfate, inadvertently invented tofu. Ming Dynasty pioneer of medical science, Li Shijian, recorded that tofu's existence is attributable to Liu An. Liu An failed to achieve immortality, but the tofu he invented became a facet of China's, if not global, culinary history. Tofu is an amazingly versatile culinary ingredient. Celebrated Qing Dynasty writer and gourmet Yuan Mei wrote in his Recipes from the Garden of Contentment, the tofu tastes even better than bird's nest soup. This seemingly arbitrary statement refers to tofu's ability as an ingredient, in itself tasteless, to be adapted to a wide spectrum of flavors, a talent none other can match. The capacity to tone down strong flavored ingredients and enrich bland ones is a distinctive feature of Chinese cuisine. Tofu's capacity to absorb a wide range of flavors while retaining its original texture make it perfect for exotically seasoned Sichuan cuisine. Delicious tofu dishes abound throughout China, but none enjoy the fame and favor of Mapo Tofu, which originated 150 years ago in Chengdu. Around 1862, during Qing Emperor Tongshi's reign, Chen Chuanfu and his wife opened the Chen Sheng restaurant by the Wanfu Bridge near Chengdu's North Gate. An important transportation passage for grain and oil. Porters generally stopped there to rest and dine.
因为我们北门大桥呢，它出城啊，就是以前挑油的那种脚夫啊，挑了的油了之后呢，他们回去的时候，这油桶子里面的油呢就倒不干净。他们就习惯把这个油啊，菜籽油拿来呢，在这个饭铺里面加工豆腐， 新鲜的牛肉，把它宰细，把这个牛肉呢来酥啊，然后再来剁的豆腐。
Mrs. Chen's spicy, aromatic tofu was the perfect accompaniment to rice, and devastatingly delicious combination that rapidly became the favorite of hungry porters and diners generally. Known as Mapo Chen due to her facial pockmarks, her famous tofu dish was known as Mapo Tofu, which the 1909 Chengdu Review included among Chengdu's most famous dishes. Old Chengdu Tales, published in the Republic of China period, says, Mapo Chen excelled at cooking tofu, and it cost only 8 cents per bowl. Few remembered the name of her restaurant, but everyone knew Mapo Chen. Although far from the downtown area, her place never lacked diners. But Mapo Chen would be astounded to know that her simple but delicious tofu dish has retained its popularity, both throughout China and overseas too, acting as an ambassador of Chinese cuisine. How could this home-style cooking captivate so many? Does the answer lie in its cooking process? Both Chen's Mapo Tofu shop and its recipe are now time-honored Chinese brands. Therefore, the standard Mapo Tofu dish must fulfill the standard requirements of being mouth-numbingly spicy, fresh, appetizing, crisp, tender, and hot. It may appear simple, but to the uninitiated, cooking this dish is a challenge. Mastering certain subtleties can take as long as 3 to 5 years. Choosing the tofu is the first step. There are in China 2 broad categories of southern and northern tofu, which differ in both flavor and texture. The coagulant of southern or soft tofu is calcium sulfate, while bitterin is used for northern or firm tofu. Normally, Mapo Tofu uses the northern firm tofu.
做的这个麻婆豆腐，它有小孔在里面，在烹制的过程中，它可以让整个豆腐从里面到外面都能够入味。
The evolution of Sichuan cuisine has inevitably created expressions in the Sichuan dialect for special cooking skills. Du is one of them.
字典上以前查不到的，为什么叫毒呢？我想呢有2个含义。第一个呢，就说你烧这个豆腐啊，火大，如果你不守在面前，不煎笃豆，那么笃的豆腐就不好吃。就说要煎笃，并且在笃的过程当中呢，它会发出嘟嘟嘟的声音。
Thickening by adding cornstarch at the appropriate time is a crucial step that must be expertly carried out 3 times.
第一次勾芡，把第一次出收水，我们用芡粉把它收汗，就把这个水给它收干。好，然后再继续加热的时候，豆腐又要吐第2次水，又要勾芡去把这个水给它收干。然后在它吐第3次水的时候，我们再把芡粉再下1次芡，下3次芡，它豆腐基本上就不吐水了。这样的话，就可以让整个勾的这个芡粉完全薄薄的包裹在每一块的麻婆豆腐的周围。
它一个作用就是使那个豆腐看起来非常的细嫩，有光洁度嘛。2一个放在芡的作用它还能够保护它嫩度。第3个保温。如果芡抓得恰到好处，你火锅端上去的时候呢， 手一抖都看那个豆腐在闪，很有吃头，看起来像吃。
Such subtle touches distinguish professionals from amateurs. Rigorous training helps master chefs establish their reputations and gain international fame. But some choose to work over the same stove for a lifetime. We now know that Mapo Chen invented Mapo Tofu over a century ago. But it was the innovations of someone else, a man named Sichuan Cuisine, that created the dish we know today. According to Li Shuyan, former president of Sichuan Gourmet Association, a 3,000-dish repertoire beats eternal fame. But for him, no dish could come close to Sichuan Cuisine's Mapo Tofu. During the 1940s, Li studied at a school adjacent to the Wanfu Bridge. He and his classmates dined daily at Mapo Chen's restaurant. The original proprietress having passed away, the chef, Sichuan Cuisine, was her apprentice. During my 3 years at high school, my classmates and I would gather at the stove to watch Master Sichuan Cuisine ply his skills. Clad in a blue gown and straw sandals all year round, he was slim and fit-looking. Not given to conversation, he was totally absorbed in his cooking. In the ensuing decades, Mapo Chen's restaurant weathered various fluctuations. But no matter what changes occurred, Master She carried on cooking over his stove until his death in the 1970s, constantly improving this dish and freely passing on the skills to succeeding generations. A true chef is a virtuous, kind-hearted, and taciturn man pursuing his culinary creations at the kitchen. Master Sichuan Cuisine was exactly such a person.
Everyone moves at their own pace, even when times are changing. As long as we move forward, as long as we seek the high ground, what we strive for is progress and betterment for all.
Celebrated gourmet Zhe Fu set down the entire cooking process of Sichuan Cuisine's Mapo Tofu in his book, Sichuan Cuisine Miscellany. Master She did not add broad bean paste, blanch, or thicken the tofu. But his Mapo Tofu was nevertheless fresh, tender, and savory. His method was to add oil to a pot directly followed by the minced beef. When the beef was dry and crisp, he added fermented soybeans and chili powder, and then the tofu. After lightly stirring the dish, he added a little sauce and later checked to see if it was ready to serve. Diners could then delight in the appetizing vision of his famous Mapo Tofu dish. During the 1950s, Sichuan Cuisine started using Xian fermented broad bean paste for his dish. The innovations of generations of chefs after his death in 1973 culminated in the contemporary recipe we know today. But each chef incorporates in it his or her distinct culinary characteristic. The ancient, peaceful town of Xiba is said to serve the world's finest tofu. Until it disbanded, the Sanba, one of Xiba's top restaurants, was the town's supply and marketing cooperative canteen. The Liu family then took it over. Its third generation manages the Sanba restaurant today.
我们沙巴饭的都是女士，厨师、老板、服务员都是女的，而且这个传统一直延续到现在。
Rather than making Mapo Tofu with firm tofu, as most restaurants do, the Sanba restaurant adds tender tofu to its specially prepared crisp minced beef. The combination brings out the best in both, making it the perfect accompaniment to rice.
肉臊用牛肉臊子，这是我们自己发明的素臊，跟外面的麻婆豆腐做法都不同。馍面上都是有臊子、葱和就是的花椒，把它和一下再吃，然后那个口感就很好了。
麻婆豆腐是很好玩，是好吃。你剁好了又烫，又鲜，啊，你和到饭里头，你跟那一搅转。 哎呀，那是好吃，可以这个菜。
Minced meat, either pork or beef, is a fundamental ingredient. But in his essay, Tofu, famous writer and gourmet Wang Shengqi advised, firstly, ample oil is needed. Secondly, use minced beef. I made Mapo Tofu many times, but it just didn't taste right. Only later did I realize it was because I had used minced pork. Minced pork is no substitute for minced beef. You need to taste it the moment the dish is presented, even if you are chatting or drinking. Mapo Tofu is essentially mouth-numbingly spicy and hot.
前人对吃麻婆豆腐有很多总结，我比较同意一个总结，主要是李济先生的总结，叫做麻辣脆嫩汤鲜困7个字。唯一对这个脆字不好理解，就里面它这个牛肉臊子，传这个烹饪手法叫做南，不能用炒，不能用爆，不能用煸，叫做南，就是在油锅里面慢慢的让它变，手质手感变酥。
Mapo Tofu is the most popular Chinese dish in Japan. Its fame is inextricable from a certain man from Sichuan. On November 10, 1952, a ship heading for Yokohama set sail from Hong Kong. One of the passengers brought with him a kitchen knife, a fry pan, a chopping board, and even tableware. The man was Chen Kan-min from Fushuen, Sichuan. In 1958, Chen Kan-min opened a restaurant in Tokyo. Mapo Tofu has since been the most popular dish among its diners. Chen Kan-min's constant recommendation of the dish on TV shows helped the Mapo Tofu become the favorite Chinese dish of the Japanese people. In 1987, the Japanese government awarded Chen Kan-min the title Modern Master, a prize intended to encourage and honor the talent and potential of those with outstanding skills in all industries. In 2008, Chen Kenichi, Chen Ken means son, also won this award. Nowadays, every Sichuan Cuisine restaurant in Japan serves Mapo Tofu. The chefs may not necessarily be from Sichuan, but are skilled at cooking the authentic Mapo Tofu dish. Popular throughout the country and globally too, Mapo Tofu displays a variability reminiscent of Sichuan opera's face-changing technique. The constant creativity of chefs who regularly add new dishes featuring Mapo Tofu to their restaurant menus never fails to amaze Sichuan cuisine aficionados. Mapo Tofu and pizza, served at an office building in central Chongqing, may seem an incongruous combination, but local diners relish this blending of Chinese and Western ingredients. He Xiaojiang, owner of this pizza restaurant, was once chef of a Western-style restaurant. Also adept at Sichuan cuisine, he has successfully blended Chinese and Western ingredients. Fusing the fresh fragrance of cheese with the mouth-numbing spiciness of Mapo Tofu is the key to combining Mapo Tofu and pizza. He substitutes a mouth-numbingly spicy sauce for the traditional ingredients of Sichuan pepper and broad bean paste and uses firm tofu. As the pizza bakes, the tofu absorbs the taste of both the cheese and sauce, lining every bite of cheese with crisp yet soft and tender tofu. Wu Yianwei is less than 40 years old, but nevertheless a cooking master in China. He's about to make Mapo Tofu oysters. Soft, tender, and fresh-tasting oysters are normally either char-grilled or steamed. When a year ago, Wu Yianwei paid a visit to Japan, he was impressed at the Japanese people's passion for Mapo Tofu. During a chat with friends, an idea suddenly came to him.
日本来出海鲜，然后用那个生蚝，能不能搭配麻婆豆腐？所以说我们那天晚上一起碰到了火花。所以这个菜呀，我们就是容纳了传统的麻婆豆腐来制作海鲜，然后海鲜的鲜度跟麻婆豆腐融纳过后更突出了麻辣烫鲜。
Not only is Mapo Tofu oyster mouth-numbingly spicy and redolent of classic street food, but also oyster fresh. Liu An and his friends' inadvertent invention of tofu from beans sparked infinite gastronomic possibilities. In the Book of Tofu, the global bestseller, also known as the Tofu Bible, the author remarks how to him, the Tai Chi diagram resembles a stone mill whose grinding initiates the bean's flow of nutrition and also transformation. After immersion in water, the beans are ground into soybean milk, and start their journey of change. From plain beans to the globally famed Mapo Tofu, their story evokes the daily lives of ordinary people who emit a similar glow in the course of their creativity and transformation.